Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Rich. Name of the channel is The Return Rider. Hey guys, today we're going to be we're testing out some audio. I actually got a different helmet. Um, we're trying to do some recording from the iPhone. Um, have a dead cat setup here with the iPhone jack, and just trying some audio through the iPhone to see if we can get some better audio as we take a ride and have a little discussion. Topic is why I didn't ride the Dragon. So, guys, again, we're going to do a little scenic view through the town of Lake City, Florida. Um, and today we're going to be using the old 2019 Honda Goldwing. It's a little quieter, seeing how the audio sounds on that. And here we go, guys. Let's go. So guys, for some of you guys that know or that have watched any of my videos in the past, you guys know a couple of weeks ago the wife and I came back from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We spent a day riding through the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. Had a great time. Rode as far as 6,600 feet through the twisty mountains of the Tennessee National Forest. We rode from, again, Gatlinburg over to North Carolina, Cherokee, North Carolina. Was on the boulevard, had a great time. So for all of my co-workers and friends that ride, when I came back and I explained to them how excited and how nice of a time we had, the obvious question came up. Did you ride the Dragon? So guys, the answer to that obviously was no. If I had rode the Dragon, I would have definitely done some videos of me doing that ride there. Right now, again, like I said, we're testing the mic. I do have the helmet visor in up position, and you're gonna see the difference between having it in the up position and actually lowering it to see how the sound varies. But anyway, guys, let's talk about riding the Dragon and key reason why I didn't. Now, when we planned the trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I was well aware that we were going to be in the vicinity of a very famous road, especially for motorcyclists. A road that is known to folks all over the world. Now, before researching it more and more, I never really had a desire to ride the Dragon. I thought about the twisties and the challenges of riding those turns, and came to the conclusion that that's not what my bike was designed for. And the more that I looked into it, the more I became curious about riding this road that some people consider to be a major challenge. Now, guys, when I got back into riding, again, Rich, the Return Rider, my first priority in getting back into this passion was going to be, okay, I'm going to lower the visor right now. Not really a windy day, but I am starting to speak a little louder over the noise that I'm hearing. So yeah, when I started this channel, guys, and I'm always going to be talking about safety being a priority, I was hoping that when I did that, I would buy the Boulevard, a relatively inexpensive bike. Didn't talk think at the time about getting into any baggers or cruisers or anything like that. But what I was hoping for was that as I took that journey, my wife, that has been supported in pretty much everything that I've ever done. We've been married over a little over 30 years. She has always supported me, even in some of the nonsense that I did with all the racing and so forth. But I was hoping as we got into our older years that, she would enjoy this journey of taking some of these rides with me. When I had the RF900, I remember her doing very minimal rides on that motorcycle. Again, that motorcycle wasn't designed for the comfort of passengers. But again, it was kind of like a test ride in buying the Boulevard. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but kind of doing a test ride of whether she'd be coming along with me on that journey. And again, always taking safety into consideration and being a priority. We all know the dangers involved with riding a motorcycle. I take every precaution to be as comfortable and confident in riding this motorcycle, keenly for the reasons of safety. And with her now deciding to come along this journey, I even take it more serious, the safety factor of riding a motorcycle, especially with my wife on the back. I've heard MC Ryder say at one point that one of the only times that he's nervous on his motorcycle is when he first puts his wife on the back of the bike. Not only now, guys, are you responsible for your lives, but you're responsible for the lives of your loved ones. And the Dragon, for some people out there, seemed to be somewhat of a test track. Now, as we rode into Tennessee, we did come in through the area of North Carolina, and aside from Cherokee, North Carolina. And what I was doing as we were going through the mountains heading to Gatlinburg to the hotel is I was observing the look of my wife's face as we navigated these really sharp, hilly, and curvy roads as we were heading to the hotel. And that alone looked like it was a little bit overwhelming for her, so I could only imagine her on the motorcycle. What I did on the day before we did the ride through the mountains is I went out and I checked the motorcycle. I did a little ride through the local area that we was in to make sure that I was comfortable on the motorcycle before I put her on it. And in those rides through the beautiful Smoky Mountains, the ride in itself was challenging. Beautiful roads, beautiful sceneries. My wife is into photography, so she definitely got a kick out of some of the views that we were seeing. She took plenty of pictures. But guys, at no point on that ride did I feel unsafe. I don't remember anyone passing me on a sports bike or otherwise. The speed limit in those areas are between 30 and I think 45 miles an hour. And again, felt like it was I still consider myself to be somewhat of a new rider. I've been on the bike now for about over a year and a half. I'm still practicing on a regular on my skills of being comfortable with the bike. Consider myself to be a preloader, part of what I call Preload Nation. Robert Simmons paying it forward. Guy that I go out and do some practices with. Looking forward to taking this bike out to do some practices with it. And I never felt threatening or questioning my skill level as I was riding through those mountains and those sharp turns. My wife and I were communicating back and forth on our Bluetooth, so I was always checking on her comfort on the motorcycle, and she never had any complaints. She seemed pretty comfortable. So when I thought about leaving my wife at the hotel and taking a ride about 2 hours away to go and ride the Dragon, that was not going to be an option. We went there together. We did everything while we were in Tennessee together. We were enjoying ourselves. Took in a couple of the sites that were there. But guys, my concern on riding the Dragon didn't necessarily become about my skill level, navigating the turns and the hills and so forth, but about other people out there that's considering this road to be somewhat of a test ground or a racetrack. When we talk about challenging ourselves, we are usually talking about pushing our skill limit to our peak. For some of us, a little above what we're capable of doing, our skill levels. And I don't think a public road is the place for us to be doing that. So again, knowing the dangers that can be involved with riding the Dragon is one of the reasons that I never considered doing it. I've watched some videos with a lot of the favorite YouTubers, and for each one of them that had rode that road, they all have some kind of footage with somebody crossing over the yellow line. That person that's crossing over the yellow line is going to be the vehicle that actually will be invading your space, probably causing a head-on collision, maybe causing you to panic and swerve to avoid them. And again, depending on your skill levels, might cause you to crash. So taking all of that stuff into consideration is one of the reasons that I wouldn't be doing that ride no time soon. And for all of you folks out there that is considering that to be a challenge and riding beyond your skills, I want you to take into consideration other people's lives and why I consider that to be irresponsible. Now on this channel, guys, I'm going to be really talking about negative stuff. I don't think that's negative. I think it's responsible for someone that is going to be challenging themselves on public roads to be responsible and take other people's lives into consideration. Some folks are just out there for the scenery. There are those that skill enough to navigate that road at faster paces. That is not well and good. No problem there. But for you guys that's questioning whether you are capable of doing it efficiently or whether you're looking at it as a challenge, I want you to consider maybe doing track days. You know, with a track day, you might, you're in a controlled environment. There's people that's navigating or teaching you the correct way to do some of those rides, so you're not endangering others. I watched one video with a young lady that was on a sports bike. Now, for you guys that's listening to this that don't know what the Dragon is, it's a road from Tennessee to North Carolina. I think it have a little over 300 corners. Some of them pretty challenging corners on what they call like switchbacks and hairpins and so forth. It's 11 miles with over 300 corners. At the beginning of the road, they have a sign that gives you a warning of the road being a high crash area. When you reach the side of what they call Deals Gap, apparently there's a resort there, and there's something there that's pretty famous called the Tree of Shame. And that Tree of Shame is a bunch of different motorcycle parts that hangs on it of people that was obviously either riding above or beyond their skill limits, or maybe some of them that were just victims to folks that were doing that. And I don't think there's nothing cool about that. I'm sure there's lots of people that have lost their lives on that road. There's stories told of it. The one story that fascinated me was a young lady that, again, that rode a sports bike that was out there with her father-in-law and them. And she seemed to be wearing it as a badge of honor that I think on her way back on this dragon, the Road to Dragon, she actually had an accident, and part of her Suzuki or Kawasaki or whatever she was riding was now hanging on this Tree of Shame, and she was looking forward for the opportunity to be able to ride it again and correct the mistake that she made. Now, my discussion with that young lady, if I was her husband, father-in-law, or anybody that is aware of her doing that, I would be encouraging her to go do a track day where she can learn how to properly maneuver that motorcycle, probably trail brake and all the things that's involved in doing such a ride. But again, the idea that I'm going to go, and I would love to see what it's like, mostly for the scenery and, riding for the experience of it. Don't know how much serious, how much scenery you're going to encounter riding a road of 11 miles with 300 and something turns. But I will not be encouraging my wife to be on a motorcycle if I ever decide to do that ride. There's a ride that's a 160-mile loop that surrounds the Blue Ridge Mountain that lots of people talk about as being a better road to ride on than the Dragon. I've been Foothill Parkway. I've done quite a bit of rides in that area, and I thought it was awesome, and we are definitely looking forward to going back. But the idea of exposing ourselves to any unnecessary dangers on the motorcycle, not necessarily because of me or my skill limits, but because of somebody out there that's being negligent, I'm just not gonna expose myself or my wife to that at this time of the game. And trust me, guys, I understand for young folks on their sports bikes what it's like to go out there and do those rides. I grew up in the New York City area. For those that know Brooklyn and Queens, when I was a youngster with my sports cars, we rode on a road called the Interboro Parkway. I think today they refer to it as the Jackie Robinson Parkway. And many days, my friends and I have turned that road into a full-fledged racetrack. I remember my dad, the bad thing about that is that the one incident that I've had on that parkway I had with my dad's 1974 Coupe de Ville Cadillac. And I remember going through those corners, actually straightening those corners as I try to apex each corner. And when I got to what they refer to as the white walls, I had so much speed in that car that it started to understeer and slide till the bumper actually touched the wall. Now, the one good thing about the Interboro Parkway, unlike these roads that we're riding in Tennessee, is the separation between going and coming is not just the yellow line. There is a small little divider that's there that prevents you, or supposed to prevent you, from actually crossing over into oncoming traffic. And, there's plenty of stories about people that has even jumped that divider. Some of them lucky, others not so lucky. But guys, you're young and stupid, and you do those things. And I drive through that area today, and I just smile about it and thought about how lucky I am to be here today, because that road is a pretty dangerous road. but nothing compared to the mountains of Tennessee. So anyway, guys, that's my spiel and why I didn't ride the Dragon. Like I said, at some point I might decide to go back and take that ride on. Now, I can't stop my wife from coming along with me, but I would just have a discussion to her if I decide to do it with her about the dangers that I'm concerned about as I decide to take that ride on. I obviously wouldn't be doing it on a weekend if I did it, but we were there during the weekday, and we still encountered a certain amount of traffic with construction and stuff going on in that area that have made most of our rides, pretty high traffic. And guys, I'm always going to encourage you, again, getting back into riding, one of the things that I'm finding super fascinating is doing these slow speed classes. Robert Simmons paying it forward. Ride Like a Pro, Jerry Palladino. Guys, if you guys want to really take on a challenge of riding a motorcycle, you get out and you do those classes. I've been to those classes with people that have decades of experience riding a motorcycle that do not have full control of their motorcycles, or we do not have full control of our motorcycles at slow speeds. But we're all getting out there and we're riding these motorcycles at 70 and 80 miles an hour, and we're considering ourselves to be intermediate, and for some of us, advanced riders. So guys, that's my spiel about why I didn't ride the Dragon. I know it's long and drawn out, but I'm going from Lake City all the way to Gainesville. I got lots of time to just ramble on. Again, always going to be promoting safety on the channel. Special shout out to my healthcare workers out there, especially my respiratory therapists. This is Respiratory Therapy Week. My job and my co-workers are actually celebrating it. The influx of the hospital have seemed to slow down from the pandemic. I've lost my co-worker. No, not my co-worker, actually my neighbor, the president of our association, to COVID. I have two of my co-workers that's out, father and daughter. He lost his wife to COVID, and the daughter has lost her mother. They haven't been back to work now. It's been a couple of weeks. They all were positive. Have a special prayer for that family, guys. And to our nurses and everybody in the front line, the doctors and so forth, guys, special shout out to you all. Special shout out to housekeeping. All the folks there are exposed to this virus. But anyway, guys, this is Rich the Return Rider. That's my spiel on why I didn't ride the Dragon. Rich, out.